Hello fiber friends, and welcome back, or welcome if you've never been here. My name is Kristen. You can find me on Instagram as stitchedvintage, same as YouTube. And this is a space where we chat about spinning and knitting and handspun and spinning from fleece and fiber prep and all that fun stuff. In today's little episode 4, I think, it should be episode 8, but we missed some months there. It is just a recap. So this is August's vlog where I just kind of recap what I've been knitting, finished objects, all of that. A bit of housekeeping. So I try every few weeks to record a spin and chat, which is just basically me answering like your spinning and or hand spun or knitting with hand spun questions. I'm having a hard time keeping track. It's probably just my brain of all like the questions, because like some are in comments and some are like people like in messages on Instagram or comments on Instagram. I put up like a question box like in my stories over there. But like once those disappear, I can't figure out like how to get them back, like how to see like the questions. Anyways, it's here, there, and everywhere. So I thought we would streamline the process for questions if you have them, and I created a website. Just stitchedvintage.com. You go there and a question box pops up and it's right there. And then that will keep track in a spreadsheet for me. Like every single question that goes there, we will have in a spreadsheet and I can like check them off as we do them. I just think it will be a lot easier to keep track. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, you can ask questions wherever you want. But if I'm this way, I won't miss them. I just feel like it would be easier. Anyways, I'll put that link in the description or try to make it super easy. Like it's all the same. Stitched Vintage on here, Stitched Vintage on Instagram, stitchedvintage.com for the website questions. Yay. Okay. That's all the housekeeping. Moving on. Finished objects. What I'm wearing. I'm wearing my favorite thing I've ever knit. So this is the leaf top by the Knit Stitch. And I love it. I would wear it every day and kind of have. It is just so perfect for Florida right now. It's still like 100 plus degrees. The humidity is disgusting. It is so gross. No one wants to go outside. It's that time in Florida where you're just like, why do we live here? It's only for about like 4 weeks where you really question your sanity and start like getting on Zillow and looking at houses up north. But then it cools down a bit and our winters are amazing. And then you remember, okay, this is why I live here. Anyways, this top is perfect for those hot summer days. It is knit out of hand spun cotton, and I love it. So the pattern calls for cotton. This is hand spun, so it's a bit off. Like my hand spun cotton, I feel, I don't know, it's not super thin. I don't know what weight we'd call it. Probably like sport. I'd say a sport to heavy sport, possibly even DK. It's not perfectly even, but it knits up nice. I did have to, so I only made, there's only like a few like slight modifications. I swatched for this because I knew that I needed to. I really wanted it to fit. Words are hard for me right now. Let's keep going. I changed needle size, so the initial swatch, I used like the recommended needles and the gauge was just too open. I knew that I just wear it with like a cami or like a camisole type bra situation underneath, and because it's see-through, obviously, like a bit see-through, but that initial swatch, it was just too open, too see-through. So I went down a couple, so I wrote it down. It called for 3.75 millimeter, and I went down to 3.25, I believe. 3.25 or 3 millimeter. Pretty sure it's 3.25. And I really liked the gauge, and it ended up nice. And then the other modification I made was, so when it's knit in 3 sections, so you knit like the front panel, this panel, and then the back panel. And when you get up to the straps, you like go down to 2 stitches and then you knit halfway and then you're done. And then the same for this. And then in the back, you knit the back panel and then you separate for like the triangles in the back. I don't know if you can see. No, yes. So then, you know, you go up here and then you knit the 2 up here and then you Kitchener together. I did that initially, but I was not a fan. One, it was too thin for me. Like you can still see my breast straps kind of, but you could really see them with the original straps. I also didn't like I like Kitchener, and the Kitchener was fine, but then like weaving in the ends with only 2 stitches, it looked messy. I'm not the best like person when it comes to weaving in ends, so I just was not a huge fan. So I cut it and I ripped all the way back until I had 4 live stitches on like each of the sections, like each of the straps. And then I put the 4 on the back on hold, like on my little cords, and I knit 4 all the way up, and I just knit the whole piece as long as I wanted my straps to be on both sides. And then I Kitchenered it together with the 4 that I had on hold back here. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I hope that makes sense. So that's the only thing I did. I like the straps much better. And then I've never really knit something like with this many yarn overs and like this much lace. So I feel like I had to like really aggressively block this. Maybe I'm just too like nice on my knits and don't really know how to block things, but this I really had to like stretch and stretch. When I first blocked it and put it on, like it was fine, but it was a little shorter and a little like tight, and I wanted it to not be tight, flowy, and like past my belly button. So I re-soaked it, put it back on the mats, and really stretched it out. I had to be careful, like I pinned the buttons and kept them and then stretched from the buttons, because what I was finding is it was trying to stretch this band, and that was not okay. So I just like lined it up, kept that, and then just stretched and then stretched, and it worked. I don't know if I'll have to do that again. Like each time I wash it, I might have to like block it again, maybe. I don't know. I've worn it so many times and not washed it, so I don't think I'll wash it unless I get something on it or it starts to smell. That's the leaf top by the Knit Stitch. I highly recommend it. I think it's super cute. Even like in the fall, like with a like cardigan or something over it. I think it's really cute. And if it's really hot where you live, you should make it. And it was quick knit. Moving on. Second finished object. The fact that I have 2 blows my mind, but they're very like quick, fast ones. This is the George's top by Joanna. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. On Instagram, I don't even know how to pronounce that either. Colibri by Johanna. Sorry, I will link to it. Anyways, this actually in the pattern, so these straps are super long and then they're tied into bows. I'm not a bow person, but I was looking for something like this, just plain stockinette, flowy top. That's just a super basic piece. And I saw that and I was like, well, I don't need to make the bows. Like I can just make the straps as long and Kitchener them together, and that's what I did. And I just knit it like the pattern said to, no real modifications. However, I've got 2 things. One, So I knit this with commercial yarn. Now, I think I talked about this in the first episode, like kind of my plans for the year, which was to really focus heavily on spinning yarn to have a stash. And I had, I don't know, maybe like 10 to 12 skeins of like commercial yarn from like years and years ago, like 2017-ish, that I've not used. And it's not a big stash, but I wanted to kind of knit those and get them out, or get rid of them, like one of the two. So I went through, like I found some like summer tops that I thought like I could use. The problem is they're superwash wool, which isn't my favorite. I didn't really know what I was buying back when I bought them. And in Florida, I have found that superwash wool is pretty popular because it's not as hot or warm as like untreated wool. So there's a lot of superwash yarns like in the Florida yarn shops. I've not knit anything with superwash wool before. So I guess I was kind of thinking that it would be kind of like my cotton top. Boy, was I wrong. You put this on and it's fine like inside in the air conditioning, but the minute you go outside, it's like the heat and humidity just comes in and just sticks to you. It's so warm, which is crazy. I'm sure this will be fine in like the fall, like maybe once it drops down to like the 80s, we might be okay. We shall see. So I don't recommend, if you're knitting a top for the hot summers, I don't recommend wool, not even superwash. And like I run cold, like I'm always cold, but it's a bit too much for me. Not to say I won't wear it, because I will. Now the other thing I will say is I found in knitting this and like wearing them, in the future, I'm sure not many of you have this problem, but if you do, when I'm knitting something like this with like a V or a, even like a scoop, I will play with making this point the same as where I split, like where my armholes are. What I'm finding, and it's starting to make sense about like how sweaters fit me. What I think happens is I'm not blessed in the bust department. There is not much there to work with. So when I wear a tank top or anything, normally, you know, even if the armhole's low, there's, you know, a bit of bust there to kind of pull it out. And so it will, as it pulls out, it will pull that armhole up a bit. I don't have that. So the armhole just sits lower. And that's not a huge problem, especially because I wear like the cami, like the little camisole bras. So it's kind of like a tank top under a tank top. So it's fine, but again, like it's not really, I don't know. I think I would make these match just because there's nothing to pull out and kind of cinch this up. That's the only thing. And I think that's why sweaters fit me, is because just designers, like most people, have a bit of something to like pull the sweaters out, like the neck, like kind of down, and whatnot. And I'm finding that it's not sitting on me the way it looks in most photos. And I think that's because I don't have the bust that's pulling that neck kind of down and out. Does that make sense? But this is why we knit and make our own garments. So I can figure that out at some point. So those are my finished objects. Okay, moving on. What do we have next? Spinning finished objects. So we talked about Tour de Fleece in like episode 3.5. I think I'm getting the numbers right. And since Tour de Fleece, I've not spun a ton. I finished 2 yarns. So this, lovely, this is Cottage Garden by Spindelicious, dyed on BFL. And I just split it up and spun it. And we got 2 skeins out of it. Untangle, untangle. So let's see. Oh, the light's this way. And it's not my most perfect spin by any means, but I like it. I think it's pretty. I don't know what I'm gonna make with it. It'll just sit up there until it speaks to me. So that's Cottage Garden BFL. I spun 2-ply continuous back. No. Ooh, I don't have my notes. They're right there. I should just grab them. I believe I did. Let's see. I don't think I took notes on this. I didn't take any notes on it. What good are the cards if I don't use them? Here's your reminder. Use your cards. What is the word? Why am I drawing a blank? Words, Kristen. Over the fold. Hello. I did over the fold long draw with that. So I just like broke it up. That is what I did. I split it in half and then split it and kept those 2 separate. That's why I have 2 skeins. And I split 1/2 into 2, spun those each, plied them, 2nd half into 2, plied them. And that's what we got. Okay. This is my other skein. So I had started this at the beginning of July on the spindles. This is Santa Cruz. So the singles were done on support spindles. And then I plied it on my wheel. And it is not, like, it is so scrumptious and so soft and so airy. 53 grams. What did we get? 189 meters is what we got. So, I mean, not a ton, but I have a lot of this wool. This is kind of like a long-term project. I think I have a pound of it. It's still on my spindles. Like, I've been spinning on this. And eventually this will be knit up, I think, into the Spark cardigan. I think. Or my Illuminate. I'm going to reknit the Illuminate that I ripped out. We shall see. So did I say my meterage on the Cottage Garden? I don't think I did. So I didn't add them together. What's this one? 215 meters plus 163 meters. So that's 378 meters for this 4-ounce braid. Okay. Moving on. What else are we going to talk about? What do I have next on my list? Oh, this is not all of my finished yarn. So we will talk about this whip in a minute, but I already used some of it. It's already balled up. So this is Corriedale, Ashford Corriedale in their color olive. We spun that. I spun this super quick. I'll kind of chat about that more when I talk about this whip. And I also spun all of this. This is for another whip I have. It's like the color's like blowing out. Focus, focus. I've spun a lot of the Ashford Corriedale because it's for my stria, and I've like re-knit this stria so many times. The Cardigan by Andrea Mowry. So it's kind of boring. Like I don't really have to think. Like I just go into like autopilot and just do. But it does make a really nice yarn. I'm not a huge, like I like working from like freshly processed fleece, like fresh fiber, but I will say that this Corriedale, the Ashford Corriedale, I've spun quite a bit of their colors and it is really nice. So I can like recommend that. And I don't remember how much I spun. A couple ounces, just under 2 ounces, I think. And I don't remember the meterage. It was like a little over 200, just off the top of my head. I don't remember exacts. Okay. And though that's all my finished yarn that I've spun since Tour de Fleece. Cast-ons and whips. So I'm gonna, since this is here, we'll talk about the stria. So this has been sitting for a while. I've talked about it before, so I'm not gonna like go on and on. But I've reknit this so many times. And I'm determined to finish it someday. This is the right side. Because I really think it will be so cozy. It's just when I get frustrated when I pull it out because like I'd already knit and like I had knit the like yoke of it, ripped it back, knit it again, split and knit a few inches down and then completely frogged and restarted. And this is where we're at now. So every time I look at it, I'm like, you could be done with this already. But it's been sitting because I ran out of the main color. I don't even know if you can kind of see the striping. It's like very faint striping, but I ran out of the main color. So decided after Tour de Fleece, let's just spin it up. So now we're working on that. I've only knit a couple more rows, so not much. And then, so I had been working on this. This is my shift pullover. I don't know, shift something by Andrea Mowry. And we finished the body. We're almost done with this arm. And I tried it on after like I was done with the body. Well, I had like tried it on a few times, like while I was doing the yoke. And then I tried it on when I was done with the body and like, I don't know, about like halfway down the arm. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I just need to knit more on the arm. So I knit to where I'm at right now, tried it on, and I was like, I hate this sweater so much. So it is sitting in timeout right now. I think I'm going to finish it. I'm just frustrated. This is knit in Spin Cycle, so it is not hand spun. It was some like Spin Cycle stash, the only Spin Cycle I've ever bought, like way long time ago. And it's so expensive. It's like $220 worth of yarn. So I was like, I have to use it. And I made this and it's just frumpy on me. I'm not a big colors person. Like I know this about myself, like a little bit of like background color, like with color work and stuff, like the Illuminate, like that I can handle, but like this much, like I should have known it wouldn't be my style. I don't know. Maybe when it's finished, I will like it, like after it's blocked. But right now, like it's huge on me. I did the smallest size, like my gauge is on, and it's just massive. So my only hope is when I block it, maybe it kind of grows this way, so it shrinks in the sides. I don't know. I'm disappointed if I have to say. It's something I find a lot with like knitting patterns. Like there's a lot of focus on like size inclusivity, am I saying that right? Which I think is great. I just wish it like went down too, like not just like bigger sizes, but smaller ones too. Cause like the smallest patterns on me wind up gigantic. So that's frustrating because it's so much. But on the flip side, I do think that hopefully she's not watching it, but if she is, I'll maybe fast forward, Mom. But my mom has, like, she had seen me knitting on it. She's like, I love those colors so much. Like, she was joking, are you knitting that for me? And I'm a very stingy knitter. I only knit for myself. So I may finish this. Well, what's going to get me to finish this is because I do think this will be a Christmas gift for her. She is bustier than me. We're similar size, but she's bustier. And I think she will really love it. And she will wear it and she will use it. So that's my whip that's in timeout because it makes me sad. And then, okay, those are really the only things I have been working on, which is true. I really I've only knit a few rows on it, but I have a new cast on, which I said I wouldn't do. Like I told myself, we're not casting on anything until that shift pullover is done. Like I was like, this will motivate me to like work on it. And then I tried it on and I was like, no, like you make me mad. You're going to go sit in timeout for a while. And so I cast on, and I chatted about this in the episode we talked about Tour de Fleece. The yarn is like all messed up. So I cast on, I don't even know where we're at. The Open Glow. Maybe if I hold it up, can we see? I don't know. Okay, so I've only knit colorwork a couple times, and I found I knit colorwork very tight, which I feel like they say that's the thing. I'm hoping I can block it out. Like it's not overly tight. Like I was mindful, but I do think, like especially like this area, is a bit tight. There's not much give on it. So we'll see how it goes. So that's all I've got done. It doesn't look like very much like ribbing, but it was actually 4 inches. And then you like fold it down. This yarn is all hand spun. So like there's a lot to say. So I'm like trying in my brain, like, where do I want to start? Okay, so we'll go top down. So, well, no, that's Okay, this yarn, we'll start here. So I had spun this and this, like these were 2 skeins from a combo ply that I spun during Tour de Fleece. And while I was sharing like with you guys here on YouTube and I seen this, I was like, oh, actually, I wonder if I could do this. And I went into that whole little spiel. Well, I kept thinking about it and kept thinking about it. And then the shifty pullover made me very mad. And so I kept thinking about it. I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I did. I skeined it up and I used, so I had ripped back my Illuminate. I have like hair in my mouth, wool in my mouth. I need a better like setup to set things on. So this was hand spun. It was a CVM mohair that I spun for my Illuminate. Now mohair pokes me. It is fine everywhere except for like right here or on my neck. It just pokes too much, and I was like pulling at it. Also, like that sweater had its own issues, like color work super tight, like it didn't fit properly anyways. So I decided to rip it out, and I kept this yarn. I wasn't sure what I was gonna make with it. And then I spun that combo spin, and I was like, you know what I could do for the Alpenglow, because it's a different yarn for like the collar. I was like, I have a little bit of this yarn that I spun, and it wasn't a ton, like it wasn't enough to make a sweater, and it's just been sitting and sitting and sitting, and I was like, I could use that for this, and then that way the mohair wouldn't be poking me up here, and then I could have that CVM mohair as like the main color down, with my combo spin as the contrast color. And then I started going through what I've spun, and I had these mini skeins that I spun for my Stria cardigan. These were my original colors. Oh, in this purple. Oh, things are falling. So I spun these, and I was like, oh, I could use that for that color B. So I did. I said I was going to use this one. I need more hands. Said I was going to use this one, and then I went to cast it on, and I was like, nope, we're going with the green, because I wanted it to read more green. There is a bit of yellow in it, and a bit of brown, and like a teensy hint of blue. But overall, when it was finished, I wanted to look at it and like have that green really drawn out. So that's why I chose the green. And then I knit down a bit, and this green was horrendous. It's more like a forest green. And this yarn is not like a forest green. It is much warmer. It is more like moss or like olive green. So I kept looking at it, I kept taking photos and like looking at the photos, like what is off, and I decided it was this green that was right here. So I ripped it back. I had knit all the way past these stripes, like I just finished like the final chart for these stripes, and then I ripped all the way back to the dark brown. And I spun this olive green. I ripped it out at night before I went to bed. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna do this right now, get it done. Tomorrow I will worry about it. Woke up in the morning, had my coffee, did my morning thing, and then sat down at the wheel at 9 o'clock, and by I don't know, it's like 4 hours later, we had spun it, we had plied it, we had soaked it, we had hung it to dry, put a fan on it, and it was dry, and we were back to knitting that afternoon, later afternoon. And I have more than enough, so I only spun like an ounce, so that's why it was so fit. It's not like I sat and spun like 10 ounces. I only spent an ounce. I figured that would probably get me enough yarn, and it got me more than enough. Well, just more than enough. I shouldn't have to spin anymore, and I like it much better. So here it is again. One day I'll figure out how to, see all that puckering. One day my color work will get good. It doesn't like to focus. So yeah, we'll see if we can stretch it out, make it fit. I've already tried it on, and I'm like frustrated with it, but we're just gonna keep going and see if blocking helps. It's just not pulling down this way, which I'm hoping once it's finished and there's more fabric, it will. But putting it on right now, like when I put it on and kind of stretch it a bit, it's more like of a boat neck. And again, I think that's because I don't, and it's happened in other sweaters, and I think that has to do with the fact that I don't have like the chest to like pull out, which kind of pulls that down a bit. It makes it more snug here, because if we're pulling here, it snugs up here. I don't have that, so it's just like sitting there like a boat on my neck. So this dark brown, I don't think I said, this is a Shetland lamb's fleece. So this was my first ever fleece I ever like hand processed. It was the worst fleece I've ever processed. I would have sent it back. Like if I ordered that and paid what I paid today and got it, I would have sent it back and requested a refund, because it was just the amount of vegetable matter in it. And it wasn't just like hay, it was like I can't explain it, but it would not come out. I had to sit with the hand combs and comb like each lock a bajillion times, and it still had so much. It was like if you take like their like feed and like crumble it up, that's what it was, which is fine. Like if like for the price, like if it's like cheaply priced, you know it's going to be a lot of work. Like I don't mind processing a fleece that's going to take a bit of work, but I paid like premium price for this fleece, which anyways, and I lost a lot of yarn because it was lamb's fleece, so it had like the tips were brittle. Those came off in combing. There's just so much waste with combing. There's a lot of second cuts. The pieces I just could not get the vegetable matter out, so they were gone. So I didn't get very much like final fiber from it, but the yarn it did make is so good. So that's the main brown. The olive is the Corriedale. I have a bunch of the Ashford Corriedale. So at the Ashford Corriedale is like samplers. Let's see, can I pull this out? So I bought all their color samplers. I bought all the colors way back when I first started. Don't ask me why. I'm glad that I have them. It's a bit over like zealous, like you don't need them, but they have come in handy for just like little things that I've done, and this is another one. Eventually they'll all be spun into maybe like mini skeins, or I can make some bats, like add some color to some bats with them. So that's the Ashford Corriedale that I pulled from there. And then the handspun CVM Cormo, which came from same place, Winter Wind Farm is where this is just CVM. And I had ordered that when I ordered the CVM mohair. It was pin drafted roving. That's the main color. The combo spin was from Wee Chickadee, her Spring Fever, and I forget the other one. Okay, this is getting long and I'm getting long-winded. I have a mess in front of me. Okay. Last thing, I don't have anything else to talk about other than what I'm spinning now. So I already showed you on my spindles, I still have that Santa Cruz. We still have a ton of that to spin on the spindles. Hopefully that gets done one day. And then on my wheel, I'll pop it off and show you. Not much has been done, but here is a focus. It's not gonna, where's the camera? So this is Rambouillet. This is part of, so I split this in half, wrapped up one of the halves, set it aside, took the half I wanted to spin, and I split it into 3. And now we are spinning end to end. So I will spin this, I will rewind it onto a bobbin, I'll spin the next bit, rewind it onto a second bobbin, and we're going to do a 3-ply. And then I will take the other half and treat that exactly the same way, and I will again have 2 pretty much not exactly the same yarns, but mostly the same, kind of like you get when you order 2 spin cycle yarns. They're never exactly the same, but they are similar enough. And that's what we got. This is Nest Fiber, her Pitter Patter colorway. This was like a one-off that she had a couple years ago during her Valentine's Day sale. Like she had dyed a bunch of colorways for Valentine's Day. And this is that one. I love Rambouillet. It is spinning very fine, which is why I'm doing a 3-ply. But I love it. It's so grabby and so fun to spin. I'm enjoying it. So that is what is on my wheel. There was something else I was gonna say, but no, I don't remember. I've got my checklist. I've went through everything. Something popped into my head. Oh, one tip. So I was reminded, and I have not like spun or plied straight from the bobbins in a long time. I've been rewinding for a while now and plying that way. And I was in a hurry I just wanted to get it done. It was the gray Corriedale that I was spinning for the Stria, and that's chain plied. And so I was done. I don't really care. I didn't want to like worry about rewinding it and stuff. So I just put my bobbin from my wheel, my wooden bobbin, on my lace cake, plied from there. And immediately it was like, oh, this is why I rewind. So there's lots of reasons to like that people rewind. For me, I rewind because bobbins are heavy and these bobbins are not. So these are much heavier than these little plastic ones. So when you're pulling off this bobbin, like this is heavy, so it's just a lot more strain on the fiber. So there's more breaks. I mean, there shouldn't be any breaks, but especially if you're spinning thin, like it's just so heavy, like sometimes it does just snap it or pull it. So that for me, that's the main reason. A lot of people do it because like to keep the yarn smooth and softer and all of that, and like that's a bonus. But the main reason for me, and that was especially true when I had my bullfrog, because those 16-ounce bobbins are extremely heavy. So rewinding on those was like an absolute must. So I thought of that when I was doing that. I was like, oh, I should talk about that. And then I forgot to put it on my list and I almost forgot, but I remembered, which is super surprising. Okay. So that's it. That's all we have for August. That's what's been going on since last month, since Tour de Fleece. That's what we've been up to. Future plans, I don't know. Maybe I'll pick the shifty pullover and finish that. Maybe I'll finish the Stria. Maybe I'll finish the Up and Glow. I probably won't finish any. I'm hoping to have this finished yarn so I can show you guys that on the next one, and maybe a few other fun things. No more cast-ons though. Oh, I lost the little thing for that. There it is. This likes to pop out for some reason. Don't know why. All right, that's all I have. I hope you guys enjoyed your time here. If you did, do the YouTubey things or don't. It's up to you. If you want me to show up in your feed the next time I post a video, then you should. And if you have questions for the next Spin and Chat, I have I went to do it today, this morning, sit down and like find the questions. And I was like, you know what, I should just do August vlog, and then next week we can do the Spin and Chat, or in a couple days or something. So if you have questions about spinning or hand spun, like knitting with your hand spun, all of that, stitchedvintage.com, there's a link below. Go there, put your question in the question box, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for chatting with me.